So we're here to discuss the Junior Refresh series from Martin Guitars with Joey O and Ramin. You guys are so kind to come and regale us with everything.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Well, we want to dive in. Obviously, I mean, talking Martins, we're talking dreadnoughts. We might as well look at the D10E.
Absolutely. So the model formerly known as the D10E is now D Jr E. We have decided to clean up the nomenclature a little bit throughout these models, make them a little simpler to understand. And you'll find as you are looking through our junior lineup that you'll see some specific call outs that refer to the top materials. So for example, here we have our D Jr E. We have a triple Jr E Sapele to denote that it has a Sapele top, just to make that a little simpler to understand. But the real important changes that we've made here are around playability, the player interface, right? So formerly with a 24-inch scale length, now all these models are going to a 24.9-inch scale length, which is great. It's a real Martin scale length.
It feels familiar.
Yes, triple O, double O, it will be very, very much analogous to playing those instruments as opposed to the sort of potentially cramped, compromised feeling that you get when you play a travel or compact guitar.
Got it.
So the other thing with is the all solid woods. You know, everybody when they think of a traveler guitar, not always they think they might have to sacrifice tone wise.
Right.
And if you're going to buy something with the Martin headstock on it, you want that classic Martin tone, and the all solid woods are obviously going to get you there. And the big messaging from this is, you know, we want to provide full scale inspiration anytime, anywhere. This is your new companion, whether it's your companion to travel with or your companion to sit on the couch and relax.
Yeah.
Or it might be the companion, you've already got a D18 or a D28 or a triple aught, whatever it might be, and you don't want to take those instruments into certain situations, camping or to a certain, you know, maybe questionable gig, you know.
Or on a plane even or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing too, you guys are kind of, not to use a pun, but you're saddled with the history of a brand that makes a high-end instrument, and you don't want to dumb it down to the point where it's like, well, it still says Martin on it, but we're going to cheap out. Like, these feel like real Martins, you know, sitting down and playing them.
They're substantial guitars.
Right.
I've been using one for a lot of like live engagements lately for the last year, just sort of testing out some of these changes we've made. I love it. From a player standpoint, there are some small touches that we think make a really big difference in how the guitar feels. So these tuners, they're enclosed gear, 18-1. They have a sort of satin anodized finish on them. They're very modern looking and sleek, but we don't take a one-size-fits-all approach to the whole series. So certain junior models will have different tuners. The ones that are more old school may have open gear tuners. Throughout the line, we've switched to a thinner fingerboard as well. So that coupled with this sort of additional bevel along the edge of the fingerboard makes for a very comfortable playing experience. They feel a little faster. They feel a little more modern for that player. And the same philosophy we've applied to these bridges. So again, not a one-size-fits-all approach. Certain models will have certain features that are sort of optimized for what they're supposed to be.
Right.
But this one, for example, has this modern sloped bridge on it as opposed to the scooped bridge wings. So if you're a modern player, you like to anchor your palm here on the bridge, despite what your guitar teacher told you not to do. It's a really comfortable way to do that.
Yeah, it's very thoughtful. It just feels like when you pick one of these up, we opened these out of the box, they were relatively in tune out of the box. The fretwork felt great. The nut was cut right. The tuners were seated properly. The saddles were right. Like, everything you would want out of the box was there, and I'm not paying to break the bank on these models. I mean, what are they roughly going for, Street?
Anywhere from $699 all the way up to $899.
That's fantastic. And with bag?
With a gig bag. And everything has onboard electronics, our E1, which includes a tuner, a volume, and a phase shift. So if you're ever on that gig and get that weird thing, you're a button away from fixing that.
And that makes sense. I mean, you know, like you say, a companion, I mean, I feel like not only is it something that I could travel with, and we'll talk about the bass in a second, but it feels like a friend. It feels good. I didn't feel like I was compromising, because we've played a bunch of real Martins, as you want to call it that, the higher end ones, the American ones, and you go, wow, nothing can compare to that. And that's the truth. But these can coexist with it, and you take it on the road and you're like, I don't have to worry about it. It stays in tune. It's built well, and if someone throws a beer cap at it, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah, as long as they keep the bottles,
Yeah, exactly.
So I have loved having my Junior. It's a cutaway model that I've been playing out and about. Kelly mentioned you've had one at home too for a little while. Any initial impressions?
It's so nice. I really enjoy it. I feel like it's much louder than I even initially thought it would be. It's just easy to play as well. Like I forget I'm holding it almost when it's in my lap because of the smaller body size. I feel like usually since like my frame is a little bit smaller, I feel like I'm like up here on certain guitars, but it's really comfortable in my hands, easy to play, and it like rings out in a very warm way.
They sound really mature and big.
Yeah.
They're not, I think maybe the name Junior might give some people the impression that these are like a less mature instrument.
Right.
But this product category we've had around for quite some time. We've really put a lot of thought into how do we make them as good as they can possibly be without those compromises in tone or playability or material selection. And I think we got there.
And the other thing is the and well done specking all of these.
You too.
Ramin did a particular great job of offering a breadth to the assortment. Like, the cutaway might be a great companion for you. Someone else might want a traditional dread or a non-cutaway triple-aught. And so out of the entire series, there's going to be something in there for pretty much everybody.
And that goes back to the point of it being very thought out. I mean, you could tell that you guys really thought about this before putting this whole series out. Like, there's something for everybody. And they really don't feel like a typical, let's say, travel style guitar, which they're not. I mean, you can totally record and play with it, but it just feels like a solid, good instrument. I'm not a bass player and I can't put this thing down. And I think the fact that you decided to do a 24/9 with a Junior bass was a wise move. I could see a lot of, not just bassists, but a lot of guitar players who want to play bass pick one of these up. And it's a great drum.
Yeah. Well, that's the solid Sapele. That's giving you that excellent percussive tone there.
Yeah.
I think some of the finish options that we're introducing, and we'll show some of them here that are new for 2020, 2025, but they really open up a whole sort of different vibe for these guitars. Like Joey mentioned, we're trying to hope that if you're looking at the Junior lineup, there's going to be something that will speak to you. But I think the proof is in the pudding, right? You actually go find one, you play it, you try it out, and we really care most of all about the player experience. So a couple other improvements. We have really nice new gig bags. That was a piece of feedback we got on previous Juniors. It's like, can't we have a better gig bag? And yes, the answer is absolutely. Because these instruments are made to be on the move. You should feel perfectly comfortable taking it on the subway or throwing it in your car for a camping trip or wherever you need to go.
Like the ultimate busker.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh yeah. Another piece of feedback we got. We love synthetic pearl materials. I think they open up a whole world of sort of decorative and aesthetic elements that really you can't get any other way other than using like real shell product.
Okay.
And there's certainly a place for like real premium shell product. But in this price point, right, you want something that looks beautiful, but that isn't necessarily dredged up out of the ocean. And so what we've done is we've gone to this abalone pattern rosette material. So it's a little bit deeper green. It's a little bit more traditional looking, but also has a little more flash to it than the white MOP material, which, people love the white MOP. I think we've also made the rosette ever so slightly smaller. So it's a little bit more elegant, a little bit more delicate, and just sort of refined that whole dimension there.
Yeah, it's funny because at a price point like this, you would think if you're going to cut corners, a lot of the times it's aesthetics that tend to go first. And I'm still looking at a guitar with the nicer inlays. I love the rosette. I love the tortoiseshell on the pickguards and stuff. Like, you could have just done flat black. Like, all those little features do make a difference. When you're not playing a guitar, if you have it in a room, and anybody can attest to this, you're looking at it and thinking, I want to pick that up.
Yeah, you hear
just by looking at it.
You hear with your eyes. And I mean, you brought it up. We're going to be 193 years old this year.
You look great.
And I'm trying collagen.
What are you eating?
Yeah.
But, like, especially in the product team, we're kind of shadow boxing our own history a lot of times. And on one hand, it's a really great problem to have 193 years of, some of the most sought after acoustic guitars in the world. And then there's also the part of it where if we're going to build a, sub $1,000 guitar, that there's certain visual cues that, people are just going to come to expect. And little things like the rosette or attention to detail with what tuners should go on what guitars, we're constantly needing to, accommodate and make those people feel good that they're, it says Martin on it. And yes, it looks like a Martin. And of course it sounds like a Martin.
Yeah, mission accomplished. And that is a staggering legacy when you think about it. It is the oldest guitar company in the world. And then what you have to live up to in terms of that legacy. You can't just slap something on it and go, well, it'll be fine. And especially as competitive as the market is now. There's a lot of other brands that have similar ideas of what they think a guitar in this price point should be. And I feel like this is stepping up that game. I think it's going to kind of kick everybody in the ass a little bit. I would imagine that was a big part of what went into it.
Yeah, we want the Junior line to be, when people pick them up and play them and experience them, that they should feel that this is an instrument. And I knew it as soon as I took my first one home, and I was like, oh man, this thing's awesome. That even though it's an inexpensive guitar, relatively inexpensive guitar, even though it's called the Junior, it's a guitar that you might never outgrow. It always may have a place for you in your sort of stable. Even if you upgrade down the line, this is an instrument that really can grow with you too. I wouldn't say necessarily that we expect it to be somebody's first guitar, but it could be. There's no reason why it could, why it couldn't be. But we certainly expect it to be a guitar that once you fall in love with it, you're going to want to keep it around.
And it's the old, we talked about this, is that age-old argument that like when you buy a Martin, the worst it's ever going to be is the first day you get it. I mean, they just get better. And with a guitar that this is solid wood back and sides and top, which again at this price point is staggering, it will get better with age. Unlike certain HPL or other kind of materials, this is going to become, if it's your friend, it's only going to benefit from playing it more and more.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see somebody like have this thing all triggered up like Willie 30 years from now.
Which is hard to do with a laminate, but I think you probably could do
Yeah,
it.
you could put some holes in that for sure.
It's just, they feel really lively too. I mean, obviously they're meant to be plugged in for a lot of applications, but even just playing it, you feel it. Like Kelly was saying, she was strumming it. She's like, I just like the way this guitar feels in my hands. And that's hard to kind of convey through a camera. But I mean, I think when people get these in their hands, there's always going to be a measure of skepticism when a brand such as Martin comes out with a lower priced offering. There's going to be that kind of arms folded skepticism. And I think this is going to probably show people, this is a different animal.
Hopefully. And, you've got the bass there.
Yep.
And I think that's another really good example of how comfort and the player experience is sort of front and center in our design philosophy with these instruments. So we developed our own special string set for these guitars, the bass guitars. They're available. Don't worry, it's not like they're impossible to get. And they have lower tension. You could string it up with full tension bass strings if you wished to do so.
Right.
But having that lower tension with a sort of nylon core string that still has all the phosphor bronze winds on it leads to an instrument that a lot of small basses sound kind of plunky. They don't sound great. They don't feel great. This instrument, I think, is the most fun small acoustic bass to play. And it sounds great unplugged.
Feels great.
Right, as opposed to some of the other stuff out there on the market, the really micro, ukulele basses. Again, nothing against that. It's its own product category, but that guitar I could see not just for bassists, but like you mentioned, for guitar players as well.
Sure.
And easy to pull it out in the studio and shed some parts or take it to the campfire or whatever and actually be heard with other guitars around. And
it intonates properly. And it's actually another great bass style instrument to have in your quiver. Like, it's not a P bass or a Thunderbird. It's its own thing. And to use it for a recording, it could be one of those things like, oh, let's use that.
We think that one of the practical applications is probably going to be that, if somebody was a pro and they were on a session and they got asked to mock like an upright,
sure,
you can almost kind of do that with that instrument, in part because of the scale and in part because of the unique strings.
Yeah, it's got an elastic kind of rubbery feel without feeling flubby. Yeah. And I think when you flirt with the scale length this short, you think, okay, it's going to kind of flub out or be a little thuddy. And that is clearly not the case here. But it's not plinky either. I don't know if those are real adjectives. And if that went into
we can make up our own words. There's no rules. There's no rules.
Scrabble later.
It's wine speak. But no, it's fantastic. So obviously we've got these. What other models are we're going to take a look at?
We're actually introducing a few new pieces as well.
Okay.
This is the D Jr Street Legend Burst, similar to the D that Ramin is playing, but the unique finish package on this. And then we also have.
Well, can I talk about this one a little bit more?
Yeah, please do.
There are a couple things that I think are worth pointing out on this guy. So this finish package here is actually based on a high-res scan of an instrument from our museum.
Okay.
Which, if you come to Nazareth, you will see it. It has had some high-profile owners over the years, but of course, we added a sunburst to it. So it's kind of a cool backstory there. It may look familiar to any eagle-eyed viewers out there. We also, this is an example, Grandpa. Yeah, exactly. It also features this bridge, which is a more traditional bridge because that's the vibe of the instrument. So we have our modern belly bridge with the scooped cuts here. We have our single ring sort of fiber style rosette, very old school. A sort of antiquing treatment on this pickguard to knock the shine off, and most importantly,
the Waverly style.
We've
Those
got
cool.
these amazing open gear Grovers. They're really the right tuner for this vibe of instrument. Of course, the rest of the feature set, we have our E1 electronics, we have the authentic thickness fingerboard, but just wanting to make sure that we recognize that it wouldn't make sense to put satin chrome enclosed gear tuners on an instrument that has the vibe of a really old school workhorse guitar that maybe is 60, 70 years old. So we try to stay really cognizant of that stuff.
When you mentioned busking, I mean, this thing just screams.
Oh yeah,
busk.
and you could fend off your worst foe with it as well.
Keith Richards style.
Exactly, knock them right on the tracks. That's cool.
And then in the same right, as far as offering something traditional, the Sapele non-cutaway Triple Out Jr., we took the visual cues from our 15 series, where in addition to it just being a brown guitar, there were other features such as, again, open gear. But, if you're buying a 15 styled instrument, you kind of expect the black keys.
For sure.
You could think of it almost like a mini 15. And it has some modern features, right? It's got this, the modern sloped bridge. It does have the authentic thickness board, but it also has some cool throwback features. These diamonds and square short pattern fretboard inlays in the faux abalone. They just look really good. They sort of harken back to what you would expect to see on a 15. So this instrument slightly smaller, by the way, than a single O. So if you're sort of trying to envision where would this sit, in the traditional lineup of Martin guitar sizes, the Triple O non-cutaway Junior is just slightly smaller than an aught 14 fret.
I love the top on that too. It's got nice ribboning on it. Is that a rich light fretboard as well on those?
This is actually solid. In this case, it's a solid hardwood called Cataloche. The spec, we sort of give ourselves a little bit of flexibility depending on availability, but on this model, you can expect to see a premium, nice hardwood for the fingerboards and bridges.
That's amazing. Yeah, that looks awesome. And again, it'll only get better with age.
So if we compare this to your guitar, Kelly, obviously first difference, top material is different. This is spruce, this is solid Sapele. This guitar, much more sort of subdued kind of vibe, a little bit of antiquing, not quite relicking, but antiquing in the finish. No binding, really kind of simplistic, right? That's what we're going for. It's this is a guitar that has a job, and it looks good. It looks good, but it's really just sort of function forward. This instrument, we've put a little bit more into the aesthetics as well. So here we have that faux abalone rosette, again, thinner. The cutaway access is actually really good. You can reach up into the cutaway and really play it, which is nice. Part of the benefit of having a smaller heel on a Junior is there's less heel to get in your way that you might see on like a full-size guitar. But this is the instrument that I've been using out and about in my travels, and I've been really surprised by the number of strangers who are like, what kind of guitar is that? I'm like, oh, it's a Martin. And they say, well, I didn't know Martin makes a guitar like that. It's like, well, it's because we hadn't officially released it yet, but
you will.
It's about to be out there.
Yeah, it's very elegant. It was at any point were you guys toying with the idea of going, well, we could stick with the traditional woods like spruce and Sapele, or were you thinking other tone woods, or are you thinking we really want to keep it in the wheelhouse of what a Martin should be?
Well, I mean, Sapele is a pretty diverse wood, right? It's very balanced. It's very warm, and by using Sapele on everything, there would be some consistency, even though you got all this variety in body shapes, cutaways, non-cutaways, and aesthetics. The Sapele, at least, we find that lends itself to the delivery of this quote-unquote travel companion, but with plenty of volume, and they're very well balanced.
That makes sense. And the finishes are nice too. They're really thin.
Yes.
Which is great. I mean, I just feel like some guitars in this price range, it feels like they've been dipped in plastic. This really, they resonate. And yeah, it still will provide enough protection to knock someone out.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's one of the, the Junior series has had quite a lot of evolutions over the years. Like the very initial Juniors, when we first launched them, they were a fully hand-rubbed finish. And then we moved to like a low sheen lacquer. This is a slightly higher sheen lacquer. It's applied without pore filler underneath, so
Yeah,
it
feels
still has a nice sort of light
texture,
open pore feeling. And of course the guitars, they break in really nicely. They open up really nicely. And I think there is some truth to this idea that the less finish you have on the instrument, it's going to sound better.
Sure.
But having some finish on the instrument we felt was essential, just to the guitar deserves it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, whether the guitar's hanging on a wall in a brick and mortar retailer or it's online, you buy with your eyes first.
Sure.
So that slightly higher sheen, it jumps off the page, if you will.
Definitely. And you're right. I mean, what good is the wood without any sort of protection on it? But I think that when you have right dried out cured wood with the right finish, it's kind of one and the same. They really work together in concert to give the vibe to these guitars. And that's the thing I think we realize is there's such a vibe to these. You know what I mean? You're not just cheaping out and getting a lower price guitar. They have a lot of fun. Every time we pick one up, we realize we're laughing or we're smiling, and like that's the point of playing a guitar or a bass, is to enjoy it. And they're really enjoyable guitars.
That's really nice to hear that.
Thank you.
For sure. Anything we missed?
I think that's a pretty good overview of what we got going on here. I'm really glad to hear that you guys are actually trying them out,
Yeah,
and
they're
playing
awesome.
them. That's great feedback. Mine, it's getting a little bit beat up over the last year.
That's a good sign.
A little bit of shine is developing on the satin finish, as with all satin instruments. The more you play it, the more you get some shine, and it's developing its own character. And we hope that people out there who get a Junior, that they'll love it so much that they'll play it. It's going to develop its own character with them and be a reflection of how they like to play guitar and what's important to them.
Mission accomplished. And I think to that end, there's going to be people in the comments saying, well, we didn't get to hear him play it. So you mind to play us out a little bit on that?
Sure. I'm going to
Anything
make
you
use,
like.
I'm going to make use of the tuner on this
Great.
guitar.
Please
So,
do. We can just...
The electronics,
Edit.
I have a little button. I can reach right in there, hit it with my pinky, and look at that.
See,
That
guitar
little
players
guy.
have no excuse to be out of tune anymore.
Yeah.
How many times
Exactly.
did
I
you go to
love
a
these
show?
tuners. They're
Yeah, they're
awesome.
great. And that's another nice feature. Again, it was really thought out. Where should we put the tuner? And then boom, it's right in your view. You don't have to be fiddling with anything else, and it works.
It's sort of a heads-up display. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
hear that.
Man, it sounds...
going.
All the frequencies are there. You
Yeah.
know, you get the warmth, but you get that cut too. It's it also helps to be in the hands of a good player.
Oh,
but
full spectrum. Do you find it sounds a little different than the Sapele topped one?
Yeah. I noticed that. I feel like this one is almost a little darker. And that one's a little brighter. But I like it. It's still resonant. Yeah, it just like rings forever.
and that's the
sustain
test
is
of a
really
great
good.
acoustic, right? A beautiful open G chord. Sounded great. There you go. Let's have a G contest.
The chord of truth.
Yeah, I like that.
Boring. No, that sounded really good, man. I love it.
Thanks so much for having us, guys.
thanks for being had.
It's great to show these instruments off a little bit and talk about them and hopefully help folks learn.
Absolutely. I mean, we're excited for people to see them on our site, but then to really have you guys kind of see how the sausage is made a little bit, it makes it a lot more fun.
Well, I hope you will get to try every single one of them, both of
hope so,
you.
too.
That bass is in good hands
stealing
too.
it.
You know, it's thumping along.
That's great. I love it.
So, and then you can let us know in a couple weeks which one is your absolute favorite.
We will be happy to do that. Thank you guys both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.